Good afternoon, everyone. 3 o'clock straight up on the East Coast. It is indeed a Monday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. We are coming at you live inside the friendly remote studios of SR 1029 FM The Game. Of course, part of the Coastal Sports Digital Network. As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Hope everyone had a wonderful sports weekend. I'm sure I'll hear all about your just scintillating Valentine's Day stories, if you will. And of course, hope you guys are enjoying your Monday, the 16th of February 2026. As always, get in on the conversation. Very easy to do. You can log on X, on the YouTube channel, TikTok, Rumble. We're all over the place at Rich Q on Q. As I mentioned, SR 1029 FM The Game, Coastal Sports Digital Network, part of the AUDACY family. As you guys know, because it is a Monday, it's always interesting when we come on the air on Monday because we like to dub it, we like to deem it a Man Up Monday. Basically, we're breaking down all the BS takes from half the listening audience, including myself. Now, if I would have said clown takes, then of course we're going to include myself. But we had a little caveat to that, as we like to say. It's a lunes Manolo Mentiroso Locador de Radio Man Up Monday. So we are calling out to BS takes and opinions from over the weekend. I've got a bunch that I've jotted down. So here we are, another weekend of sports in the books. No football, how depressing. And then they give us the NBA All-Star game, the NBA All-Star weekend. And let me just tell you, what an absolute brutal weekend of festivities. Everyone was sitting there talking about, the NBA and, how much everyone still loves the NBA. And listen, I told you this on Friday. I told you guys this on Friday. What's going on with the NBA, where the NBA is at. And it's now become absolutely so corporate, these types of weekends, and it just scrap it, get rid of it, just stop. The days of Larry Bird in the coffin corner, sticking up his finger saying number 1 3-point shooting contest, done. The days where they played defense in the All-Star game, Magic China, back down, Isaiah, done. It's over. Vince Carter, get ready for takeoff. Michael Jordan, Larry Nance, Kenny Skywalker, Chambers, right? What's his name? Blake Griffin jumping over the Kia and then saving on car insurance. Those days are done. They are absolutely done. The funniest thing come out of the weekend was Shams, who's, this all-time great breaker of news. He can't play basketball for to save his life. And Kevin Durant's burner account, which we got to get into. But right now, All-Star weekend, the best elements pretty much have nothing to do with what's going on Saturday night or Sunday. And it's become bad. It's become unwatchable. And that's one of the reasons that the commissioner now has to backpedal, has to backtrack, has to try to reinvent the sport, reinvent the wheel, talk about we're not going to reward tanking, getting rid of the draft. I mean, Saturday, All-Star Saturday, it had the vibes of friggin', you ever got to wake up at like 3, 4 in the morning for work? Or you got to get that, that Friday 5:05 Zoom call and you're like, oh, what the hell are we doing here? I mean, empty calories, empty seats, bad product. Bad product. I mean, it's awful to watch. It's unfortunate. But it shows you once again, and I was thinking about this over the weekend. It shows you once again, unequivocally, you can't even debate this, that the NFL is beyond king. The NFL, I mean, if we're even doing a ranking system, right? If we're trying to rank, baseball, hockey, football, basketball, even with the most ordinate of rules and the guidelines, hell, I would sit there and say football is 1, 2, 3, and 4. I really would. It never stops. The news, the cycle, it never stops. And now that the NBA is they are contemplating doing away with the draft. I mean, you're gonna change the draft structure, right? Now you want to stop tanking, which is not working. And I understand every remedy has to be put on the table. I understand that. Imagine if they had this type of problem in the NFL. They'll never have this type of problem in the NFL. Baseball's got their own issues because they're headed towards a lockout. We know that. But changing draft structure, you're not rolling out taking away picks from tanking, or you want to take away picks. We're doing hefty fines. That's always really interested in. And this is all because of the Jazz, right? Because of what transpired over the last couple of days when you're talking about the load management and shutting down players. The Jazz got hit with a little pocket change fine of $500,000 and the Pacers with $100,000. And the commissioner can say all he wants, Adam Silver. He can sit there and say, we're going to look more closely at the totality of the circumstances, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a watered down product. And no one is suggesting shorten up the season. No one's suggesting that. But ultimately, he's almost steering clear of what he's going to tolerate and what he's not going to tolerate. And that's the problem. And now, if you think about this, Adam Silver took over for David Stern, the late, great. And I know people had a problem with David Stern. I always enjoyed David Stern back in 2014. And he's always been, Adam Silver has tried to be in the foreground. And he's always been very transparent when it comes to the NBA lottery. And they keep reworking it year after year. And again, it's just not good. We're only concerned about the top 5 picks. That's it. That's it. And the way they work it is, the first 4, and here you go, the remaining 10 spots, 14 are filled out. The lottery eligible teams reverse order, with the number 2 pick, blah, 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 gets that. That means the Knicks, get the number 1 pick. Hey, that's great. So are you going to punish teams that are just bad, or are you going to reward teams that are purposely tanking that are bad? Like, that's the rub. But I just thought the weekend itself, and I flipped through a couple moments here and there. Again, just really not good. I mean, it's a shame because the All-Star game's like 75 years old. The league is 80 years old. Like, let's kind of look to the future a little bit, figure out what the hell's going on. I mean, it's bad enough. You got all these, issues going on with Giannis and his relationship to the betting platform. They got the Leonard scandal. You got the gambling going on, the tanking, the load management. It's just not a good time for the NBA. It's not. So we'll dive into that a little bit. You got the news coming out, which I think is hilarious. Kevin Durant and his burner account pretty much ripping allegedly on his teammates. Got to get in the front runner that is Kevin Durant. Also in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins, pretty much the fish are telling you, we are not only going to reset the rebuild button, but they are going to be a team that is going to be brutally bad next season. You want to start leaning the Dolphins right now. They are basically just in tank mode, releasing player after player after player. Tyreek Hill, which is not a shock. Bradley Chubb, which is not a shock. James Daniel, the offensive lineman, not a shock. Another wide receiver, not a shock. So listen, this is what you're doing right now in the NFL. You are basically you are trimming the fat. This is what John Eric Sullivan's doing. You're trying to save money. This is exactly what they're trying to accomplish. $23 million you're looking to save in 2026. That number is going to increase to 30 if Chubb's release is imminent. And we know that it's going to be immediate. You're talking about some of the moves, the trades. We'll get into that. Again, there's another report floating around, a potential trade regarding the Eagles' A.J. Brown, too. I'll give you the mystery team. And then I got to get in these comments by Bryce Harper. I have to get in these comments by Bryce Harper, who basically is taking exception to the fact that Phil's GM, Dave Dombrowski, basically said that Bryce Harper is no longer an elite player. And I'll tell you this right now, all he did was speak the truth. That's all he did. That's all he did was speak the truth. I believe one of the most overrated players of this generation in Bryce Harper. And you're also looking at this era of Phillies baseball. I mean, it's like a clown show. It's why is it always dramatic? It's not as bad as the Sixers in the process, nowhere near that. But this is just a clown show, and it seems as though you are getting very close to the end game of what's transpiring in Philadelphia as far as the current GM and Dave Dombrowski. Because my gut tells me once the prospects are dealt, he's probably going off somewhere else. Next gig, maybe retirement. He's made a ton of trades, lost a few, but again, he really, I haven't seen him burn down that farm system like other teams have done. I think they've also waited to play some of these prospects. We'll kind of get into that. We'll do an overview and overlook at the NL East. So we'll have a little fun with that as well. Pitchers and catchers. We'll get into the AL East later on in the week as well. So a lot to get into. A lot of comments already coming through on the NBA, and we'll kind of figure out what you guys think as far as All-Star Weekend. Did you watch? Did you gather around the fireplace? Did you have some goodies and watch NBA All-Star Weekend? The KD stuff is really fascinating. To me, it is fascinating because if you have a burner account and you are bashing, if you're Kevin Durant and you have a burner account, Kevin Durant is an all-time great, but Kevin Durant is one of the most sensitive athletes I think we've ever endured, viewed, followed, encountered ever. He is beyond a sensitive Susie. So he's got his quote burner account. Everyone knows. He turned around and said this back in 2019. It's anonymous. I'm going to post anonymously and I'm going to have this quiet interaction. Well, I think we found it. I think we've uncovered it. And how about this? Kevin Durant's alleged burner account is basically ripping his current teammates. And I get it. In social media, right now, anyone can pretend to be anyone. You can come off and be whoever you want to be, no, unless someone's really going to back check and vet. But man, you're going on there and you're basically, you're trying to, bait people to kind of find you a couple seasons ago, a couple years ago. And now you're kind of ripping your teammates. I mean, you want to talk about an all-time front runner, Kevin Durant. You're going out there and you're bashing your teammates, bashing your teammates. You're making a substantial amount of money and you're sitting there being exposed for the fraud that you are, bashing your teammates. And you don't think some people on X have nothing better to do than to basically, gloss over, sweep through, kind of clean, kind of go back in time and look at all these tweets. So we will get into that. And as I mentioned, there's very interesting stuff going on right now in the NFL. Like there is also another report that Jordan Love is potentially requesting a trade. We got to dive into that as well. So a little mixed bag. You got a little baseball, you got a little basketball, and you certainly got some football in the NFL. Always a fun time on a Monday. We'll crank it up on the other side. We'll get to some of your comments as well. 13 past the 3 o'clock hour. Monday edition of On Cue. We're powered by our good friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea. Also, fresh roasted coffee. We got the new dark roast coffee, the Colombian coffee coming in as well. So as always, use the promo code BYP20. That'll get you some savings on coffee on me. Check out the show notes as well. And follow me on X, IG, TikTok at Rich Q on the mic. Like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll get to your hoops comments. We'll get to your overall comments. By the way, I've got some things I need to man up on. We will do that as well on the other side. Keep it locked in. Monday edition of On Cue right here on SR 1029 FM The Game, Coastal Sports Digital Network. Download the AUDACY app as well, and you can catch us Monday to Friday drive time right here with On Cue. Quick timeout. We'll come back in about a minute. We'll get to your comments. As I mentioned, a lot of NBA talk, NFL, and baseball as well. All right, welcome back. 15 past 3 o'clock hour on the East Coast. We'll open it up on this very busy Monday. Sarge in Delaware fires off. Q, I know we're not supposed to be living 20, 30 something odd years ago when the sport was a sport, but let's just be honest. It has gone way too corporate. I'm starting to see that in the NFL as well. You're speaking about the NBA All-Star game and the NBA in general. Yeah, that's always a problem when you do go too corporate, right? I mean, some of these stadiums right now, they don't fill up with the blue collar type of fans, the generational fans that their father's father has been going to these games for 20, 30 years. And tickets have become ridiculously expensive. I think we all know that. Now you've got a lot of sites that offer these games for free. You don't have to really pay, or you got to deal with the YouTube channels and buying these games, or the Amazon Prime signing up for that. And it gets, after a while, you get too much in your data. But I think the environment at times causes fans to get turned off. And the problem with some of these leagues, they're not maximizing ways to drive traffic, and you're supposed to maximize ways to drive traffic, not only to the venue, to the games, but also social media. I mean, let's just be honest. In the age we're at, and everyone's pretty much glued to the phone to a point where it's unhealthy. Now, after a while, you get burned out. You don't want to keep posting, going on, clipping, snipping, posting, clipping, snipping, posting. It does get tiring after a while. You can get burned out fairly fast. But these leagues, the ones that really get it and do a great job, they maximize ways to drive traffic on various multiple platforms, right? So we kind of know that once you acknowledge that, it's obviously it should get you more engagement and eyeballs, but it's not always meant for the regular fans that are sitting at home, maybe working a 9 to 5, who aren't glued to the phone 8 hours a day, nor should they be. It's a corporate showcase now in sports with some of these events. And it's all about the revenue, and the revenue is brought in from what? The streams of revenue are from advertising. So in essence, it is a money maker / a money grab. And that's the problem. So I was just reading for Saturday, individual tickets, the pricing started at $200 per StubHub. Okay. So a family of 4 would have to spend roughly $800 to watch the 3 events from the quote cheap seats. That's not including gas, tolls, parking, food. You're well over $1,000, $1,300, $1,400. So I'm not suggesting that some of these all-star weekends, some of these all-star games and events are not for all the fans. That's not what I'm saying, right? But I'm telling you, man, you got to have a little buzz. You got to have a little buzz. Like the Super Bowl, we know it's beyond corporate, but the Super Bowl is an event. We've accepted that over the last 15, 20 years. You can go to a party, you can go to a bar, and everyone's eating, drinking, hanging out. And if you're like me, the handful, or the guys that listen into the show, we're focused on the game. Everyone else is just, catching up on life. That's all. They're just catching up on life. They're really not, locked in to the game. There isn't. And the problem is, it's not apples and oranges, but when you start to get to the Pro Bowls, it's matador defense as well. No tackling. When you get to the NBA All-Star game, the reason that the players get criticized is because there's zero effort. So I understand the league is trying to find and generate ways to make the product more competitive, but constantly changing the format to me is a waste. So every year you're going to change it. And as a fan, I'm like, all right, well, I'll spend that $1,000. Maybe they did something unique. And then you realize they didn't do anything different. There's zero juice on the floor, none whatsoever. Same thing with the dunk contest. And LeBron's to blame because years ago, LeBron toyed with the idea he was going to be in the dunk contest. The dunk contest, every other dunk has been done, right? It's just lost its luster. It really has. And we can sit there and say there's, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 ways to fix it to Sunday. It just doesn't matter at this point. Same thing with the NHL. Like they're in the bottom. You know, baseball has its own issues. NFL is like 1, 2, 3, 4. It is. NFL is like 1, 2, 3, 4. Because we're talking NFL today because it's 24/7, 365. Now it's in the off season. It's a big deal right now for the NFL. You're going to get cap casualties. You're going to get cuts. We're still kind of, you know, recycling and going through everything that's transpired with this coaching cycle. You know, you're going to get potential trade rumors, Max Crosby, AJ Brown, and the Jordan Love thing I mentioned. You got to take it on face value because if they turn around and, you know, the I guess the buzz is, and I don't really believe there's any legitimacy to it. But if they turn around and I believe it would be Malik Willis, right? So if they tag him, I mean, as from what I gather from a couple of these insiders, right? Insiders, it's the thought now that Willis has more of an upside or as much potential, okay, than Jordan Love. Which now you're talking about a 2020 first round pick in Love compared to a 2022 third round pick in a quarterback that's only made a handful of starts. Only a handful of starts. So take it for what it's worth. I listen, you know, another example of a young quarterback that was given up on, who knows? But I just find it fascinating at times, like I said, you know, we just sit there and we want to give up on these guys way, way too much. Way too much. And it's unfortunate. It really is. All right, Tom in Summers Point chimes in. Phillies. Q, I know you're going to talk a little more about the Harper situation, but I'm not going to sit there and say he's overrated, but he's never been what they really paid him to be. So again, I think Bryce Harper is. I think Bryce Harper will go down as a very good player, but his time in Philly is overrated. That's just the way I look at it. I don't know where you guys got that comment. Absolutely not accurate. Let me just check a couple more on X. I think you guys kind of do what you guys do best, and that's kind of misconstrue what I said. No, I did not blame LeBron James for ruining the dunk contest. What I said is there's no star power. Remember a couple years ago, LeBron James said he was going to be in the dunk contest, and he pulled out. That's all I'm saying. So it's star power. Come on, guys. It's on a Monday. Wake up a little bit, will you? Mark and Wallingford chimes in. Q, I know you're going to mention a little bit about these prospects from the Phillies, but overall, if you think this team is definitely right around 88 to 90 wins, I looked at Harper's numbers over the last several years. You can't blame injuries. No one's blaming injuries. Injuries are a part of a game. We know that. But you can't tell me, and you're a baseball guy, you coach baseball, Mark, you can't tell me that you've got a team that's getting older. I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. You look around baseball, right? And we know that pitching wins, right? Pitching defines seasons. We know that. But don't tell me for 1 minute that we're not going to blame the injuries, but injuries have also derailed many a player. So the Phillies want to run it back. They're old. The Phillies are like 31. That's the average age of their lineup is 31, and the rotation's like a touch under. So you got 5 everyday position players and 3 starting pitchers that are 32 or older. And there's been a substantial amount of turnover. So Garcia is going to be their, the club's right fielder. Crawford is expected to take over eventually in center. Now the bullpen got a little stronger. Yeah, they added depth, but they also lost Ranger Suarez, Harrison Bader. That gave them some big hits and defense. And, Castellanos, again, removal, whatever, lack of a better term. I never liked Castellanos. I thought he was a bust with the Philadelphia Phillies. He signs with San Diego, league minimum. That's their problem. That's their problem. I don't believe, again, I don't see the makeup of this team or this lineup winning over 95 games. I really don't. Miami and Washington are very young rebuilding teams. Okay. They're young rebuilding teams. But Atlanta is still Atlanta. And the Mets, even though they had a very, I don't even want to say, not, I didn't blow you away type of off season. Well, guess what? They're still the Mets and they've got some players. The Phillies aren't running away with this division. They're just not. They're not going to win the division by 10, 11, 12 games. I think the Phillies dip. I don't see 95. Hell, I don't see 90. I think the Phillies dip to 87. I think the Braves and the Mets might get you 89, 90. And again, it's if you think about it by the numbers, this is a team that has won the division in consecutive years. So it's kind of almost eye-popping, eye-opening that I have the Phillies potentially third place in that division. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, Harper all of a sudden is going to turn back the clock, because you just got to be realistic when you're talking about Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper, I feel like, gets a free pass in Philly. I really do. I mean, we get on everyone else. Get on Embiid. Get on Jalen Hurts. How come we don't get on Bryce Harper? It's like always this pass. Always, always, always. Why? Because he's Bryce Harper and that's a clown question? Look, Harper, because of the contract, most likely he will be there after Dombrowski leaves. He was before Dave. He's going to be after Dave. Right? Now, if you want to sit there and argue he's still the face of the franchise, fine. Absolutely fine. And he's a great player when healthy, but he hasn't been a great player consistently for the last couple of years. He just hasn't. That's not hating on the guy. His 844 OPS was his lowest since 2016. His 261 average was his worst since 2019. He's 33 years of age. He's got 6 seasons left on a monster 13-year, $330 million deal. I mean, do you want to get into the postseason? Forget about the regular season. Last year, 27 home runs, 75 runs, By the way, 3 of 15 with no ribbies in a 4-game series loss to the Dodgers in a divisional series. That's why Dombrowski said what he said. That's why he said, can he rise to the next level again? I don't really know that answer. Nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with that. So yeah, you get a wrist injury, you miss some time, fine. The production has trailed off. It's just trailed off. You want to throw me 280, 393, in 14 seasons, or 363. That's great. He's been with the Phillies for 7 seasons now. Win a friggin' World Series. When he left Washington, they won. He's an overrated player. He's an overrated player. That's just the reality. There's nothing wrong with that. Listen, it's not a bad comment. It's not a hateful comment. Some players are just friggin' overrated. That's it. Angel Clearwater, not our Angel, but the other Angel, Dolphins fan, chimes in. Q, I'm not going to call it a tank. I'm not going to call it a rebuild. Get rid of the fat, as you mentioned. Miami is really, really just basically trimming. They are. The Miami Dolphins are hitting the reset button. And I'm still waiting to see what the hell they're going to do with Tua. Seriously, I really want to see what they're going to do with Tua, because that contract is such an albatross. Now, I'm wondering if now that they're moving and cutting all these players, like, I still think Tua can be a serviceable quarterback in the NFL. He's not a star starter. I don't believe Tua is a franchise quarterback. He had a great run. He's still 27. He had a great run a couple seasons ago. Based on that, they gave him the money. And I, for one, can man up and say, I shouldn't have said give him the money, but that's what the market bared, so they paid Tua. They paid him. because all these other quarterbacks were making their 2, 3, $400 million, whatever the hell these contracts were. They were making 150, 200, 220, 225, whatever it takes. They were making a lot of money. So now, because the Dolphins are cutting all these players and they're trying to save some money, I think it's a little more palatable going forward, right? You're still going to eye trading Tua, but now you got a little bit of a catch. You got a little bit of a catch, right? And it's pretty much unraveled, to Angel's point, pretty quickly for Tua. It's the concussions. At times he looked, just unplayable, right? He got benched late last season. So now you got a new regime taking over. They appear to want a fresh start at quarterback. But here's the problem. The problem is moving on from Tua is not going to be easy. He's got 3 years left on a 4-year, $212 million contract. So now Hill's gone. They've trimmed that. They got rid of that. He's not a good dude. Get him out of that locker room. Seriously. Get him out of that locker room. He'll go somewhere else and he'll get his receptions and his touchdowns and his balls and he'll be a headache for someone else. So now with Hill gone, it's only a matter of time that they figure out a way to move Tua. They're going to have to trade him. But you have to understand it's also very difficult, which eventually might lead him to getting released. And that is a monster nut right there that they got to take on and eat. I mean, no matter which way you slice and dice it, they're going to be on the hook. They're going to be on a hook. Matt chimes in. I still think he's serviceable, Q. I'm not going to call him a front-end starter, but I can see him going to one of these teams that need a bridge quarterback. What's the numbers on his cap? If they release him, the Dolphins would take on, I think, $10 million in dead money over the next 2 years. So it's almost as though if I trade you, it's the lesser of two evils. And the problem is, if you're trying to move me, my contract situation is going to make it really difficult. I need a willing trade partner. And that's not a position the Dolphins want to be in. But they are definitely retooling. Lean the Dolphins next year, lean the Jets next year. They're going to be bad. It's going to be New England and Buffalo in the AFC East. And New England's probably going to take a step back. They're probably going to they're not going to win 14 games next year. I think the film is out. They need upgrade. They need to fix the line. They need another weapon or two for Drake May. It should be Buffalo's division to win. I mean, it really should be. So I don't know. Ultimately, Miami's got Miami, Arizona, the Jets, Cleveland, because I'm still not 100% sold that Shedeur Sanders is going to be the starter. And I don't care what people are saying in Cleveland. I'm not 100% sold he is the answer going forward. So you're going to have 3, 4, 5 teams that might go the bridge route when it comes to the quarterback. And you can deal with that and you can overcome it. But the problem is you can't have a bridge quarterback for 3, 4, 5 years. You just can't. You can't. You'll be a team that's going to have turnover. You're going to be moving GMs around. You're going to be firing head coaches. That's never something that you want. 3:34, quick timeout, a little more NFL. Got some more NBA comments, got some Giant comments, Phillies comments, NL East comments. We will dive into them as well. Keep it locked in on a Monday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here. We're powered by our good friends over at Pliable, Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea. Also played against sports, 2 locations, one in Deptford, New Jersey, and of course, Mount Laurel. Back in a minute. All right, 3:36 on a Monday. Don't forget, it's a Man Up Monday. So a couple things I got to man up on. Um, where did we go on this? Well, I mean, this is kind of like over the last, I would say, the week or so. Oh, before I do, I know Kevin had a question regarding the Giants, and I know exactly where you're going with the hire of Aponte, and basically that tells you that Joe Shane has pretty much been uh, delegated to the little kid stable. And oh, by the way, I have no problem with that. I have no problem. I don't, because Dawn Aponte is going to report to John Harbaugh. So the Giants are quickly kind of abandoning this nonsense, this charade, right? And again, his role in the front office shrinks, and I think it was more or less you get along to go along, you go along to get along. That's what I honestly believe. So I know exactly what Kevin was going to ask me, and yes, I think it's pretty much if you want to call it an office wrinkle, so be it. If you want to say that I'm just going to move your desk a little bit to the side, or I'm taking you out of your office and now you're in a cubicle, that's fine. But I have no problem with Aponte. I think it's a great hire. Very intelligent woman. I think she's going to bring a wealth of knowledge to the Giants organization, work hand in hand with Harbaugh. And to me, not a great sign for Shane. And again, he's probably just a de facto GM in name, probably de facto GM in name. And as I mentioned to you guys, the Giant fans that are chiming in, when you finish 4-13 and you've had some misses and not hits, well, then guess what? You should be under the microscope. You should be under a microscope. That's just the way I look at it. KC chimes in. Q, what are the Giants' odds to make a run next season? Super Bowl odds. I mean, come on, stop. Stop thinking because the New England Patriots did it, the Giants are going to do it. They are absolutely one of the most fascinating teams to watch next season because of the hire. But they also haven't done anything in a decade aside from a little cup of coffee in the playoffs with Dayball. They missed the playoffs 3 straight seasons. They're 4-13. Don't, to me, I would not even, you want to throw $10 on plus 7,000, have at it. Have at it. I'm not going to tell you what to spend, what to bet, but if you're talking about probability, come on. You might as well go put an order in for fresh roasted coffee and support the show. It's like 1.41%, which is right around 23rd, 24th in the NFL. I've already looked at all the Super Bowl odds. I mean, you're talking long odds. You want to talk about the only teams with longer odds than the Giants? I give you the Falcons, the Titans, the Saints, the Panthers, who made the playoffs, by the way, the Browns, the Raiders, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Cardinals. So they have way too many holes to fill in this offseason. Just pump the friggin' brakes. I love the hire, but just pump the brakes. Everyone's looking at New England. Who's going to be next season's New England? Who's going to be next season's Denver Broncos? Come on, man. You know how much has to break for you, to be quite honest? You know, everything's got to break for you to make a run like the Patriots made. And oh, by the way, a lot of it stemmed from what? The soft schedule. A lot of it stemmed from the soft schedule. And they took advantage of it. Matt chimes in. Q, I'm still pissed off that the Sixers, I'm sorry, I got my Giants quote right here. Matt chimes in. Q, I'm still pissed off that the Sixers traded away McCain. What do you expect for them to do in the second half of the season? I have no idea. The Sixers, to me, I think they're in. Jonathan Marshall called it purgatory. And I tend to agree. Right now, they're currently the 6th seed. Embiid's not happy. He's just not. Hey, that's good for Maxey, right? You know, you played well over the weekend. Would you win that? Or I'm sorry, Edgecombe it was, the MVP of the Rising Stars. Nice player. Maxey, all-star. You know, you want to throw him in that MVP conversation, averaging just under 29. The Sixers dealing with the Paul George suspension. I feel as though there's still no rhyme or reason what the Sixers are doing. It's something Jonathan Marshall and I spoke about last week. I think right now this team is kind of at a crossroads because they get teased when Embiid's on the floor and he plays well. And then you have to deal with the load management. And that's always an issue. Always an issue. Always, always. Clancy chimes in. Q, I love when you talk some basketball, but think about this. What happened to the sport that I used to love? I'm still tuning in, seeing greats a couple nights here and there, but I got to be honest, man. This is absolutely garbage I'm seeing from the Philadelphia 76ers. My level for excitement right now is in the frigging gutter. I mean, you're an annoyed fan. Players get hurt. I get it. Players deal with the low management. I don't like it. I don't like how the NBA right now. The other thing, too, that I also believe needs to be talked about a little more is that you've got so many different streaming services to watch. And it becomes very saturated. Like Kai Carlin's my guy. He covers the NBA and the Sixers. But for him to come on the air with me and tell me that the product is good, the product's not good. It suffers. And the regular season in the NBA is different from the regular season, I believe, in the NFL, only because it's condensed 17 weeks in the NFL, including the buys. Every Sunday's meaningful. You know, this argument, well, you lose a game in September doesn't mean anything. That's rubbish. It's different in the NBA. You can lose a game in October. That's okay. You can lose a game in November, December. That's okay. January, okay. February, okay. But then if you keep trending down in March, April, May, you're going to be in trouble come playoff time. So the regular season has become increasingly irrelevant. It just has. And remember, if you go back 2012, that shortened season in the NBA, 6 games. And you had all these back to back, right? So we're basically logistically cramming everything in the schedule. Remember, the season began on Christmas. And now what we're doing is we want to keep slicing. The NBA season is long. It is a grind. I understand players get tired, but if you're hurt, you still need to be out there. That's just the way I look at it. Money is ultimately the deciding factor here. We're looking at these overblown contracts, these max extensions. You can be a bench player. You can be 7th, 8th on the bench. You can average 3 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist here and there, play in 25 games, and you're making 25, 30 million. It's utterly ridiculous. Now, you want to argue with me less is more? And that's exactly what Glenn and Summers point. Q, think about that. Each game would have slightly higher stakes. Then again, we can have more fan interest, and maybe, just maybe, the players would be more inclined to play. Now, if you want to add, they'd be more inclined to play January, February, because that's when we really start to see the drop off. And that's where the season typically starts to rev up right around the holidays. So the issue is this. When you talk tanking in sports, in the NFL, very hard to do because when players don't run routes, when they let the quarterback get hit, when they're lackadaisical effort, they're not paying attention, guys get hurt. Guys get hurt, man. You can rarely, really get hurt. The NBA, there's kind of ways to avoid the little contract. I don't need to drive. I can turn it over. I can keep missing outside shots. I can maybe not go to the rim. It's pretty more pronounced. And I understand that we always talk about year in and year out. Let's throw out hypothetical ideas to clean up the sport, to fix tanking, like have a tournament of lottery teams, one-off games, decide to draft. I mean, why? What's the incentive for a player to want to get involved in that? Seriously. That's why when people argue with me tanking, if you are a player, an athlete that has been grinding it your whole life, that's lived in the gym or on the field, and doing the work, the conditioning, lifting the weights, the health, nutrition, just laser focused. How are you incentivized? It's like I'm fighting for my career, my NFL, my NBA, my football, my basketball livelihood is on the line. So I'm going to sit there and not put up so you can get my replacement? That's the problem the league has become. I mean, hell, people were tanking back in the 80s. This is not new. Like, I know I sit there and blame the Sixers with the process, but that was just another way of masking. That was another way of putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, a gunshot wound. They've been doing this for years. A big time star goes down. The Rockets did in the 80s. The Spurs did it with Pop. A big time star goes down. Then, yeah, you know for a fact you're going to tank. You know it. Eagles 6. Q. NBA needs to do a couple things. Shorten the season, too many meaningless games. Restrict the season to 60 games. Ensure each game has meaning. Q. The reduced season would also prevent a lot of the load management crap that you speak of, issues the league is plagued with. Q. I'd also say start the season at the end of December. I know. It'll run during the middle of the NFL season. That's okay. Overlap. It caused many people to ignore the NBA until February when the NFL season is ended. The NBA needs to start later, so the other games get more attention by a wider audience. And thirdly, lastly, Q, reduce the amount of teams that qualify for playoffs. Yeah. Too many teams that are eligible for the playoffs. Having only 12 teams instead of most. Having only 12 teams instead of most of the league being eligible for the playoffs dilutes the product. I don't know about that. Silence 6. You can't get rid of the draft. If they were free agents, they would result in all the top rookies signing with the same 3 to 5 top teams. That's a fair point. But if you limit each team, right? So if you limit each team to what they spend every year, then maybe each team would have a little more control over players that they're going to retain. Like, forget these max contracts. That's the other thing. If I'm paying you, right? So I got to kind of person in this way, right mix of contracts, playing time, right fit, et cetera, et cetera. Dean chimes in. Q, there's only so many roster spots available. Guys want playing time, so talent would eventually spread. But this idea, it's not such a bad idea that I was reading about. 3 to 5 teams dominating the league is a made up problem. We all know that from the Dream Team back years ago. So the other issue too is a lot of the franchise players or the faces of the league, they bounce around from team to team to team to team. There's zero continuity. There is zero consistency. As James Harden said, 0, 0, 0 loyalty, right? Trust to PQ, officiating is always going to be an issue, but I'm so friggin' sick and tired of these players crying and whining about the officiating. Is a big part of the issue. When I think of current NBA greats like Embiid, Tatum, LeBron, etc., it's hard not to think about them crying to the ref about some minor contact that they can easily score through. When I think of guys like Harden and Trae Young, I don't even think of an NBA great, but instead a grifter just exploits the nuances of the rule books. Wow, we are going in a different level on that one. Be that as it may, why don't you tell me how you really feel about the NBA and the NBA product? And this is coming from a guy that loves basketball, right? This is from a guy that, again, likes basketball. New headphones. Who this? AKA He 12 Man, AKA Heisman, AKA Steeler Nation, AKA Duval, also affectionately known as Vince. Actually, Q, recent history since Campbell took over Detroit would suggest the right combo of coach and QB can turn it around in year one. Texans with Stroud, Commanders, Seahawks, Patriots. Shall I continue? You're talking, but hold on a second. Yeah, you can, because think about it. What's the team that you just mentioned that doesn't have a young quarterback? So you're talking about Stroud drafted, Daniels drafted, May drafted. What we're talking about, Giants, Dart drafted. Sam Darnold wasn't drafted by Seattle. Sam Darnold cashed in, got paid, and rewarded them with a Super Bowl win. I know what you're saying, the combination, right? The mix, but you also have to be realistic here. This is a team that plays in the NFC East. They never beat Dallas. The Philadelphia Eagles have owned them for the past 20-something odd years, and they have trouble with Washington. And you're also talking about several players coming off major injuries and Scatterboo and Neighbors. And they got to re-sign Robinson. Theo Johnson's an enigma. They got a dual threat at the backs, but they still got to fix and clean up their offensive line, and their secondary stinks. So if they jump from 3 to 4 to 7 or 8 wins, that is a major improvement for the Giants. But there's no way this team is flipping the script like New England did. It's just not happening. They're not winning 14 games. If the Giants won 9 games next season, I would be pleasantly shocked. If they were in contention past October, which as a Giant fan is not asking a lot, I would be pleasantly shocked and pleased. So you're talking about one of these guys, like I said, one of these guys, right? Um, to me, it's just it takes more than flipping the script because of one head coach. Old guys like you hate the NBA, but kids like my son who's 20 lives in the NBA refuse to watch football. It's really just beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'm not old and I don't hate the NBA. It's just a bad product. Why is it I can sit here and have an opinion, but it's hate, but yet you got talking heads on the air that work for networks that air basketball and the NBA, and they piss on the product and they're not haters. I mean, I grew up playing basketball. I've covered basketball. I call games all over the place. I'm a gym rat. I love the sport of basketball. But again, and no disrespect to your 20-year-old kid, he doesn't know the sport. This is what they know, Matador defense and highlights, because that's the only thing that's out on social media. Someone actually tweeted at me one time that Bird was overrated. And I was like, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. No clue. So you're talking about the NBA right now where it's pick and roll, it's ISO, it's two-man game, and that's it. It's wide open. And I'm sorry, these young fans, they don't know the game of basketball. They think they know the game of basketball. They think they know what's good basketball. 1-on-5 ISO? That's not it. That's not it. And I'm actually young, but thank you anyway. I know the sport. I know the sport of basketball, and this product is bad. It's bad. Like you can't even debate me. Everyone and their mother will tell you it's piss poor. It's a bad product. Young kids, 18, 19, 20, they love dunks. They love highlights, crossover, ankle, breaker. They don't understand 2-3, 3-2. They have no friggin' clue. The ball doesn't touch the floor. That's not being old or old school. It's not. It's just understanding the game. That's why the European game is so much better than the game in the States. In Europe and overseas, guess what? There's no Velcro. There's Velcro all over. 1-on-5, fast break. 1-on-4. Let me pull up for a 3. How is that beautiful? How is that aesthetically pleasing? 3-on-2. Let me figure out a way to pull it back out and have a step back J. That's a horrible product. Come on. And like I said, no disrespect to these young kids, but they don't know the game. They don't. All they know is highlights. That's all they know. Brian chimes in. Q, did you hear this? Sixers fans are planning a sell the team night. What's your thoughts on that? Well, I mean, we talked about it last week. You can't have Josh Harris own the Philadelphia 76ers anymore. He's more concerned about Washington, the Commanders, and their new friggin' logo. But it goes deeper. You've got your GM that's a used car salesman that is trying to placate Josh Harris. You can't serve two masters, folks. You can't. You just can't. So you're going to sit there and tell me that you jettison, you trade a player like McCain, and the Sixers couldn't find any type of continuity, consistent minutes for him? Now, what the hell are you going to get with Cameron Payne? What do you think his role is going to be? And again, like I said, this whole idea of telling me the NBA product is good, it's horrible. Have you seen some of these guys when they pick up the dribble, they're traveling like 17 steps, and you think that's a thing of beauty? Stop. Just stop. It is a bad, bad product. I'm not telling young fans don't watch it. Watch it all you want, but know what the hell you're talking about. Understand what you're watching right now. The playoffs, defense was ratcheted up, man. That was the best time in the NBA. When you got into the spring, the dog days of summer, when you're talking about these NBA finals where they played defense, not 125 to 123. That's not fun basketball. Sorry, it's not. And you can sit there and say all you want about beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Stop. then if that's the case, then I'm allowed to have an opinion, which I'm always going to have an opinion. It's a bad product. It's a bad, watered down, tanking load management. Let's play Matador defense. I have a shin issue. I don't want to get out on the floor product. It stinks right now. Now, I'll still watch, but I won't be happy. It's like that bad movie, which, by the way, rest in peace, Robert Duvall, one of the all-time greats. One of the all-time greats. Absolutely one of the all-time greats. I mean, so many great movies. The Natural, Great Santino, Godfather 1, Godfather 2, Colors, Apocalypse Now. Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. You know, all the great ones are passing. Seriously, all the great ones are passing. Look, I know he wasn't a young man. He lived a very good life. He was 95. Do you know he turned down Godfather 3 because they were basically lowballing him? I mean, he was a phenomenal actor. Phenomenal. But he turned down, people forget, he turned down Godfather 3. He was like, nah, not doing it. Because it was a salary dispute. It was 1/4 or basically 1/5 of Al Pacino's compensation. So he was willing to accept the offer, no pun intended, but he considered basically the pay gap very disrespectful. The role of Tom Hagen was meant for Robert Duvall. Meant for him. He was unbelievable. And Apocalypse Now, are you kidding? Oh, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. He was in some fantastic movies. I loved him in The Natural too. As the writer. Max, right? You ever play ball, Max? Rumble the cassette chimes in. Q, I know you're not going to like this, but I do for some reason. I would love to link Trout and Harper together. Laugh out loud. I would also argue that Harper could retire today and has a very good chance of getting in the Hall of Fame. So I know you're talking about his numbers overall, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's overrated. He's overrated. He's overrated. For what they're paying him, he's overrated. See, a lot of you guys want to go all the time with and trust me, I'm a stat geek. I've argued this for years with the baseball guys. For years, when you talk about WAR, right, wins above replacement, and we argue players and just how good they are, or how not clutch they are, or how we tag that WAR to their career. So when you look at a player like Harper, to me, what I'm always going to look at is the inability to lead the Philadelphia Phillies to a championship. And once he left Washington, the Nationals won a World Series. I'm not going to take away Harper's 2022 when he won the MVP. He was phenomenal in the postseason the few times, but you got to go body of work. Just go body of work. There's an element. Why doesn't Bryce Harper get the same criticism that a Joel Embiid gets or a Jalen Hurts? That's all I'm saying. So when Bryce Harper comes out and he's not happy because Dave Dombrowski basically said, not being elite anymore, can you get to the elite status? I don't believe so. Hey, man, there's some truth to it. Bryce Harper won the MVP. His WAR was like 5.9. That's like the fewest B WAR for any MVP since 2005, 2006. I'm not going to take that award away from him. But I just don't think he's as elite as people make him out to be. And I think he gets a free pass in Philly. That's just my opinion. I think he gets a free pass. People will side with the player over the GM, right? And yet sometimes when the GM says, like, imagine if Howie Roseman came out and criticized Jalen Hurts, or Daryl Morey came out and criticized Joel Embiid. You guys are siding with the player 100%, but yet in a situation where Dave Dombrowski's comments are somewhat accurate, you're still going to side with the player. It kind of makes no sense to me because he's not saying anything that is earth shattering. And maybe in his mind, he's also doing it to light a spark under the fanny of Bryce Harper. Is that possible? That he's trying to get Harper a little more motivated? Now, you can't account for injuries. We know that. But I'm looking at this team, and I told you, I don't like the makeup of this team. I don't see them winning 95 games. Takati chimes in, Q, that's an insane thing to say about your own star player. I don't think it is. I really don't. I think it's motivating, and I also think it's telling the truth. He's not saying anything that is like, oh my God, that's horrible to say. He's just answering the question. So we get on these GMs when they're not being transparent. We get on these GMs when they're, full of you know what. Harper is not an all-time great. He's not. And I know Philly fans don't want to hear that, and Philly fans are going to argue that with me. Fine. Argue, argue, argue. Argue. I don't know what you guys are crying with. Robert Duvall's greatest role was gone in 60 seconds. Let's see what Vince is crying about on Monday. Guy has been screening my comments all show, and he says, no disrespect to your son, disrespects my son, but you know what we'll hear on a Monday. Nobody said it's good. What? What are you talking about? Oh, I said, yeah. I said, your son's 20. I said, I'm glad he watches the NBA, but he doesn't know what he's watching. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I would say that about any young player. That's not being disrespectful. Young fans don't know what they're watching. They just don't. They don't know what they're watching sometimes. They're captivated by dunks and highlights. That's all. Don't be so sensitive on a Monday. Get out of here. Harper, an all-time very good. And I'm not policing comments. Some comments just read the room, right? You want to sit there and talk about boxing. I'm talking about baseball and the NBA. Read the room. Come on. You should know better by now. Get the show. Mark and Wild for chimes in, Q. I really hate to go back and forth with this, but there's no way the Phillies win less than 95 games. They're going to win less than 95 games. Stop. The NL East, I'm not going to sit there and say it's a juggernaut. Okay? No one's suggesting that Atlanta's running away with division. The Mets are running away with division. Phillies aren't running away with division. And they're not winning 95 games. They're going to win 88, 89 games. They'll be lucky to win 90 games. It's an older team. It's an older team. I don't like the makeup. They still got holes. They still got issues. The Mets, I understand the Mets didn't have a blow you away offseason, but the Mets still made some moves. Atlanta's not bad. They're not. If you look at, I think the Phillies to me will hover 89 to 90 plus. So 89, 91, 95 to me, that's a big difference, 95 to 90 games. The NL East on paper, it looks tighter. It really does. And they're an older team. That's all I was saying. They are an older team. And I'm wondering what's going to happen with some of these prospects eventually. And the Braves, their core is pretty intact. Acuna, Olsen, Riley, right? You added Harris. And Acuna is coming off, what was it, the injury too. He played in only 90 games. His numbers were ridiculous. 290, 417, 518. Braves are going to be good. They're going to be good. And I think ultimately what it's going to come down to, if you're a Braves fan, it's going to come down to pitching and their starters. Can they be healthy? Chris Sale hasn't started or hasn't made 30 starts in about 6, 7, 8 years. And I think offensively, Atlanta has a lot more depth. They can outslug, out-hit, out-pitch the Phillies, and they get on base. The Phillies don't always get on base. When the Phillies bats go silent, they go silent. And also, here's the other thing. I didn't even mention Zach Wheeler. If Zach Wheeler comes back, say, within the first month plus of the season, and he looks half of the ace that he can be, then yeah, you will have one of the best starting staffs in baseball. But if he doesn't, you're in trouble. And I think for the Mets, it's just kind of a different outlook, right? No more McNeil, no more Polar Bear, no more Nimmo. So they kind of went that way, right? But I still think the Mets will be a very good team. I mean, you still have Soto, and then you got a little bit of volatility in the outfield. I wonder if they're going to have that one prospect though. Their top prospect, and I'll butcher his last name. It's like is it Benji, Carson Benji in right field. He's 21, 22. So I'm curious to see that kid. So I just don't like the makeup of the Phillies overall. That's all. That's it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Not 95. What are we doing? Like 89 at best. 95 wins? That's pretty much saying it's a 100-win season. I can't do that. I really can't. I just can't do that. All right, 406, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get to your comments on a Monday edition of On Cue. Quick timeout. We'll come back. All right, 10 minutes past 4 o'clock hour, Monday edition of On Cue. I guess Vince got a little too sensitive. Vince can dish it out. He can't take it, though, but that's okay. He'll come back tomorrow. They usually do. Ball 3162. How about that? 500 Q. 500 what? What about 500? 500? 500 team? 82 wins for the Phillies. Ooh, ball 3162. 82? That is taking a major step back. So here is your projected win totals. These are updated. Kevin chimes in cute. You're right. Some of these guys dish it out, but they run fast. Yeah, I mean, that happens sometimes. All right. But that's okay. No worries. Can't be liked by everyone. All right. Here's the NL. I'm just going to go through the NL. This was posted 24 hours ago. So here's your projected win total for the NL. Let me give you the NL East first. Atlanta, 88.5. Miami, 72.5. The Mets, 90.5. And the Phillies, 89.5. Washington, St. Louis, very low totals, under 70 games. San Diego, which is always an enigma, and they're so talented, over 80, 85 respectively. How about Pittsburgh with the drop-off, 76? Miami, 72. I get the Dodgers have the highest win total, 102.5. And Colorado, 52.5. So they're telling you right now that the NL is really coming down to 3 or 4 teams. I mean, it appears Chicago, Cincinnati. Chicago's at 88. The Braves are at 88. The Dodgers are at 102. Milwaukee, not as sold as people are on Milwaukee. The Phillies, no. 89 I can live with. 90 I can't. You guys said 82. A couple guys said 85, 86. There's no chance in hell they're winning 95. And the Dodgers at 102, I think that's extremely high. But obviously, we know the Dodgers are a friggin' juggernaut, right? I mean, we know that. I mean, the Dodgers just every time we turn around, the Dodgers just kind of the rich get richer, and the Dodgers won it all last year. So I would say the Dodgers over 100 wins, yes. The Mets over 85 wins, yes. The Phillies over 90 wins, no. I can't do that. I won't. I won't. I won't. I won't. I won't. Can't do it. I can't do it. Put up the Dodgers. I still can't believe they lost to Arizona 2 years ago. That's absolutely crazy. Dodgers won 98 games, 100 games, 111, 106, and then you had the COVID year where they won 43. They should be 105. They should be. Daytona 500. You into the NASCAR? Going around the track a couple times. There we go. I'm glad they let the last play out, and that Michael Jordan might be good at everything he does. What are we talking about? I'm glad they let that last lap play out. Oh, you guys are giving me Daytona updates? Is that what we're doing right now? Dodgers win total should be 127. They're going to win 110 again. They're going to win 110. 111. 127? Nah, they're stacked though. Would you say right now, would you basically lay a bet on the Dodgers to win it all again? I mean, I really can't see, even in the AL, I just, who the hell's going to compete with them? Seriously. Seattle, Toronto, the Yankees, the Mariners. Yankees probably hovering around 99.5. Blue Jays, I think, dipped down to 87 to 90. I think the AL is pretty wide open. Detroit, Boston, Kansas City, potential contenders. Who knows? You just never know how it's going to plan out. But I just don't see anyone beating the Dodgers. I don't. All right, NFL on the other side, 4:14. Quick timeout. Want to remind you, we're powered by our good friends at Play It Again Sports, 2 locations, Deptford and Mount Laurel. All right, 16 past 4 o'clock hour. Got some comments on KD and his burner account we'll get into in a moment or two. I just think it's it's a funny story. It really is. I mean, I don't know why you would go on X, create a burner account, which many do, by the way. Many trolls like to do that kind of crap. But you go and you have a burner account and you're a professional athlete that makes max money, hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're ripping your teammates. I mean, this dude is just goofy. Is he not? Guy's absolutely crazy. Like, what are we doing here? Let's just go and just, you know what, on our teammates and pretend like that's not us. Come on. Mark and Wallingford again. Q, can you go over those NL East win totals? I missed what you said. Yes, I can. Quickly, Braves 88.5, so it's minus 105 on the over. Under is minus 115. The Marlins 72.5, and I think that's pretty accurate with the Marlins. The Mets are sitting at 90.5, and the Phillies are at 89.5. 89.5. Thomas Summers Point Q. I can't believe you actually said Harper's overrated. Are you friggin' ridiculous? Do you actually know baseball? Look at the numbers he's put up over the last 4 to 5 years. This guy's always in the MVP conversation. He's the face of the franchise, and a couple years ago, he carried that team into the postseason. Stop. You can be very good and still be overrated. You can be very good and still be overrated. You can. He's a very good player. He's not an all-time great. Stop with this nonsense. You're embarrassing yourself. He's not an all-time great. And if you're going to get paid like that, I'm sorry. You got to measure up, do you not? Again, in every other sport, we equate salary, money with production, but we can't do it in baseball. And we know half these guys never play the life of these contracts. Harper is a very good player, but Dombrowski turned around saying, I don't think he can be elite again or he can't get back to that elite status. There's nothing wrong with that. Everyone now wants to paint Dave as the bad guy because now you lit a spark with your potential franchise player or your veteran. If you are the face of the franchise, your job is to do one thing, okay? You win. That's it. You win. Q, it's embarrassing he's even got to answer this crap. Independent chimes in. Come on, Q. I'm going to be the only one to agree with you. Literally, he just said Bryce didn't have an elite season last year. He never said he wasn't elite. This is childish crap from top to bottom. Thank you. But that's Harper. Harper wants to create the drama. The Phillies, they are dramatic. That's what they are. Castellanos has to pen a thank you letter and then admit he brought a beer into the dugout or locker room. Come on. Just stop. Seriously, sometimes. Of course she's going to get asked those comments and they're going to get misconstrued because that's what everyone loves to do. We like to take the comments and we like kind of like what you guys do with the show. When you comment in and you hear what you want to hear, you don't hear the whole thing. Or you come in a certain way and then when I kind of pounce you back out, you take your little ball and go home. Let me get to a couple more comments. Nervous rough chimes in Q. Harper's hair alone makes him elite. Well, that's fair. Chief Six. Hey, it's kind of wild, isn't it, Q? You know who would never say that about Bryce? David Stearns. Oh my God. Can you imagine if he said that about Juan Soto? Seriously. Wow. I mean, unbelievable. Yeah, you guys like to dig. You guys like to dig. All right, a couple minutes before we get out of here. Tomorrow, a little more in the NFL. As I mentioned, got a lot of comments on the NBA. And I don't believe for 1 minute you guys watched what transpired over the weekend. I just think it was just bad basketball. So to kind of recap, we saw some movement with the Miami Dolphins. Tyreek Hill released. Nick Chubb is going to be released. He was informed of his impending release as well. James Daniels, offensive lineman, released. And they also got rid of a journeyman wide receiver as well. So they're definitely gearing up for the rebuild, a retool. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Tua. That's a name to watch. We'll talk a little more about the bridge quarterbacks on Tuesday's show. We'll start getting into a lot more baseball. Second half of the NBA season, Jonathan Marshall later in the week, Steve Gardner on baseball. You guys out there, as always, appreciate you, appreciate you, appreciate you. Man chimes in. Didn't watch 1 second of All-Star Weekend. I don't blame you. Either did I. I think I flipped it on by mistake. It's just bad. That's what I'm saying. Like, young fans, without being disrespectful, but I got to say it like this, you don't know what you're watching. It was a brutal, it's been brutal. It's a brutal watch. Because we know two teams, it's top heavy in the Western Conference. We already know that. With OKC and San Antonio. And then in the Eastern Conference, I mean, Boston's playing really well without Tatum. Detroit is 40-13. I don't know if they really have staying power. Maybe their last year's Cleveland. The Knicks are good, but they've got some issues. Cleveland's Toronto's the Sixers are It's just overall, I don't need to see teams score 130 points and play no defense. There's nothing beautiful about that. 5-on-1, let's pull up and shoot the three. That's not aesthetically pleasing. Sorry, young fans. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Go watch 90s. Go watch early 2000s. Go watch where every possession was hard fought. Okay? And if you think about this too, some of the players in the NBA that get paid a substantial amount of money, they're flat out overrated. Davis overrated. Porzingis overrated. Zion overrated. Jackson overrated. Draymond Green, who I wanted the Knicks to go and trade for, yeah, I'll take him, but overrated. Like, you got a lot of overrated players in the NBA making a lot of money, which also waters down the product. It's just not good. It isn't. It's just, it's a tough watch. Nick and Wallingford, one more time. Q, I don't have a problem with Harper said he's just defending himself. It's not about defending. Like, just say, yeah, I didn't play well last year. I got banged up. I got hurt. And he's a GM. He's entitled to his opinion. I'm going to show everyone different this year. No, comment is wild. Like, grow up, Bryce Harper. Grow up. Let your play do all your talking. Like, play 150 games this year. Can you do that? Can you play 145? Can you produce in the clutch? Man, I can't wait for baseball to get here. I really can't, because, we talk about these other seasons being grinds and long. We know baseball is a flat out grind, but once you start to get through the dog days of summer, man, the intensity, it's beyond ratcheted up. It really is. And I think you're going to see some startling offensive numbers this season. I really do. I think you're going to see like historic numbers in baseball. Like, it's not going to shock me if 8, 9, 10 players crank out 50 plus home runs. It won't. Now, what we probably won't get is a 20-game winner, which is always a rarity, which I would love to see in baseball. I really would. The last 20-game winner in baseball, how many years ago? I think 2 or 3 years, right? So here you go. Kyle Wright of the Braves was the last pitcher to win 20 games, and that was 2022. Before that, you have to go all the way back to 2016. Oh, J.A. Happ. Remember J.A. Happ? Last 30-game winner. We'll never get that. That was Denny McClain back in 68. And the problem is we're never going to get a 20-game winner, 25-game winner because of the scarcity of the 5-man rotation. And you got the pitch counts. That's another thing that bugs the hell out of me. The days of Denny McClain going out there in 68, posting a 31-6 record, never again. Like, never again. It's never going to happen. These guys can be wheeling and dealing for 3.5 innings and they're going to get pulled, which I cannot stand, but that's a conversation for another day. All right, we'll start wrapping up. Good stuff with the comments. Appreciate you guys keeping us locked in on a Monday. Tomorrow, back in the saddle. Always, we are powered by SR 1029 FM The Game. Also, Coast to Coast Digital Network. Play It Again Sports. 2 locations, Deptford and Mount Laurel. and Three Brooks Bourbon. Pliable, and get ready with tea. All right, we will talk to you tomorrow. We are traveling on Friday. No show on Friday, but we'll cram in some guests tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. You guys have a wonderful Sports Monday. Second half of the NBA season is among us. You got a little pitchers and catchers action, a lot of NFL news and notes. And for those watching cars go around, lap, 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 enjoy it. We'll be back in the saddle mañana. Check out the show notifications, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a wonderful Sports Monday. As always, this is a Monday edition of On Cue. I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Hasta luego, buen día.